this video, I am going to show you detailed explanations on how you can consistently win versus the one-hand fire staff, the dual swords, and the one-hand frost staff. I will be using my one-hand fire staff build, which you can find in the description below. Join us live on Twitch at BurnstoneTV_Twitch to ask your questions about this build so I can answer them in real time. Enjoy, everyone.
He's actually triggering all of that. Interesting. Alright, let's fight then. Get smacked by someone with no proper skills. GG. Alright, so this is a frost staff user. So in one of my videos, I actually said that against ranged opponents, you want to switch to either fire wave or fire artillery. Against frost, I usually go with fire artillery. So one of the strategies, because I usually default to the fire wall during inspection, one of the strategies that I do is I use boots, use firewall, and then try to switch my skills. So what he did was I wasn't able to change skills because he actually triggered my firewall. He purposely took damage from the firewall to keep me in combat. He actually didn't allow me to change skills. So at this point, I have the wrong skills. I have the firewall on, which is not really effective against frost staff because they do have range. So you're losing out on damage. Plus, they have Frost Nova, which can go through the firewall. So I put another firewall up here, trying to reset my skills. But he kept on using or triggering the firewall. He was trying to cheese me. And I kept on trying to reset my skills here to get my artillery on my W. But he just kept on triggering it pretty much and keeping me in combat. So I pretty much decided at this point that I'm going to fight him. So the way that I fight these kinds of players is I keep my distance, use my Q. As soon as he uses his E ability, I triggered my Hunter Hood. Quick casted my E ability because I know he has Hunter Hood. He uses that. I activate Hunter Hood, quick cast my E to avoid getting reflected. I know that I have more damage. Q per Q, I have more damage than him. So I just kept on tagging him with my Q abilities. Look at that 1 damage though. That was from the Fierce Flame. 343 after resistances with 1 Q ability. Alright, he popped his Hunter Hood. At this point, it doesn't really matter anymore because he has 20% health. I used my boots just to get some extra health. I even missed my firewall here. Activated my cleric robe right on time, and then quick casted my E ability, and that's all she wrote. So that's how you pretty much beat these kinds of cheese builds. Know that your Q ability against Frost is much stronger than their Q ability. One hand Frost doesn't really have like that burst, and he didn't even get a chance to use his cultist robe. Ooh. All right, let's do this. GG, sir. So let me explain this, why I used the skills that I used. All right, so this fight is against a fire staff. Now, this is not a build that you really need to worry about, truly worry about when you're using my build, because I know he's using tier 5 or anything less than tier 6. He doesn't have the Q3 ability. And he's using a Tomo spell. So that means he is pretty much an Ooga Booga Fire Staff. An Ooga Booga Fire Staff is a Fire Staff user that uses Q1 and relies heavily on being a turret. And counter that by using the Fire Wave. So switch your W skill to a Fire Wave. And that's pretty much it. Also, you don't want to use artillery during this fight. I know in some of the tips that I said, you want to use artillery against range by default. But this is one of those times where you don't want to actually use a fire artillery, because using a fire artillery means you're going to stay in one position and the Ooga Booga Fire Staff can actually just spam Q and you're going to lose that engage. So it's best to go with Fire Wave in this situation because you can cancel their casting. Okay, going into the fight, I know I have the range advantage. That's the main advantage that I have. He's using Q1, I'm using Q3, I have the range advantage. So I just tag him. He actually he did really well here by using the Pyroblast right away. I made a mistake of actually using Cleric Robe instead of Hunter Hood, but it worked out in my favor. Almost, I think. Because right there, I actually received 0 damage. This was just lucky. This was just lucky because I used my Q ability. He had his Hunter Hood on. So my dot damage from the Q ability is actually getting reflected. As soon as I used my Cleric Robe, that reflects damage triggered or activated my Cleric Robe. And I actually took 0 damage. Took 0 damage from that full cast E. But the correct strategy when you see a Fire Staff using their full cast E is use your Hunter Hood. This worked out in my favor. As always, I popped my Cleric Robe, activated it, and into a full cast E, took out 742 health with 1 skill. So as soon as you pop your Cleric Robe, use your full cast E. And at this point, I was just trying to get away from the Q spam, so keeping my distance, especially when he has his Cleric Robe on. So I just kept my distance, popped my Hunter Hood because he was trying to Q spam, canceled one of his Qs, and that's it. So it's pretty easy. Obviously, he's not geared. He has a very low IP, but he could have still killed me if I was not careful when to use my Cleric Robe, when to use my Hunter Hood, and what skills to cancel. I pretty much just lose. Literally ran out of mana. 700k. I literally ran out of energy in the middle of the fight. I was like, at that end of the fight, I was like, yeah, this is easy. I'm going to get him. Like, I'm pressing Q and like nothing is happening. I was trying to press E and it was like nothing is happening. I literally ran out of mana, dude. Start with the first fight here. So as usual, you start off with your Q abilities. He used his E right away over here. Here's the thing that I want to explain. He used this W. He used this E. I used my W to create some separation. And usually during this time, I use my E already. Okay? Look at this. I quick cast my E to counter his parry. But he was still quick enough, dude. He was still quick enough to use his parry, reflect all of the damages to me, while he received 0 damages. So as Silly said in the chat, the longer distance that you have from your opponent it's easier for them to use their reflect, in this case, the parry. So it actually reflected my entire thing. He has insane reflexes here. Very insane reflexes. So what I learned from that is use the quick cast skill as close to the opponent as possible. So I'm just going to skip through this. Or maybe show you a little bit. He used this E. I used my Hunter Hood to reflect. He actually used his Gigantify here. He used this Gigantify potion. Now, I know if he has Gigantify potion, I cannot use Firewall to create separation because using Gigantify potion immunes you from force movements. So what I did was to just run. I just ran and waited for his Gigantify potion to be done and started my engage as well. Missed my Firewall there, but it's more than enough. If you notice there as well, I actually quick casted my E really, really quickly, right? If you blink, you can actually miss it. I quick casted my E and he started running away and he was able to run away to reset. This is the second engage. He did not change any skills. He used this E. I used my Firewall, tag him with a Q, quick casted my E really, really quick. Really, really quick. And hopefully untelegraphed because he did take damage. He did take damage and I did not get reflected. So I learned my lesson from the last engage. I just quick casted. Although that was still is a pretty long distance, that's more than enough for me to deal damage without taking damage. So here's the mistake that he did. I used my boots. He used his boots, but he went towards me. He actually did not try to create some separation. So I used my Hunter Hood right away, not to reflect his big damages, but to actually discourage him from attacking because we have similar health. Okay? And I'm here just spamming Qs, trying to hit him. He used his E ability again, used Firewall. He doesn't have Gigantify potion anymore because it's still on cooldown, I believe. And he mistimed, actually. He mistimed this parry there. He mistimed this parry. So I full casted my E. When I saw him use his parry and he missed everything, sort of quick cast my E. Mid cast, I would say. Mid cast my E. And that's pretty much it. I know I can mid cast my E or full cast, close to full cast my E because he doesn't have any reflex. I have almost 80% health. He has like 20%. Although he had, look at that. He actually had Mercenary Jacket and I almost lost here. Be careful when they have Mercenary Jackets. I ran out of energy. I literally ran out of energy. He almost killed me here. But obviously, just keep on using your Q abilities. You have more damage against them anyways. There you go. Easy 700k. He almost killed me in the end, though.